it was an experience. I'm glad that I went. There was never any doubt in my mind that I would go and do the best I could do. And I never once had a man in our unit that was a shirker that just wouldn't work. Shit, no, man. They jumped right in. They didn't know what they were doing for a while, but they jumped right in there and they'd shoot whatever was coming down the runway.
Yeah.
One time in the Cobra, I was flying across an open field and some Charles stood up and it hit an engine oil bypass valve and pumped my engine all overboard. So it came down. I got out and called my wingman, told him to go up to altitude and call our base station and bring another ship that will haul this one out. The second time was at Budap when I shot the tail rotor off and I spun around. The third one was it was a B model. It was a B model. And they hit the hydraulic reservoir in that. It locked the controls up, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And you can land one without a tail rotor, but instead of using your pedals to change the tail rotor, you're using engine torque to turn this way around.
Ah.
So you come flying in the runway this way, getting slower and slower and slower and slower, and finally you just turn that and it lines up, and then you just drive it on the damn runway.
Like a snake movement?
Yeah.
And so, can you talk more in detail about that time you got shot down in Budap? Were you really close to the enemy at that time?
Oh, maybe as far as from here to the other side of that church.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were shooting at us. Well, once we got down, they were shooting at us.
Were they in a big formation, or were they kind of light infantry spread out?
They were coming out of the hooches on both sides of the village and coming down the pasture toward us. And our co-pilot, our wingman, put some rockets in there, and they thought, well, this is not as much fun as we thought it's going to be shooting at those people in the ditch, and so they went back.
Yeah.
So on the way out, we were careful to set their village on fire. I don't know, it's difficult to estimate distances when they're shooting at you.
Yeah. But you knew you were out of range of their small arms?
No, but they thought they were when my wingman turned in and started shooting people and shooting their hooches and setting the village on fire.
Yeah.
Then they decided maybe this is not as much fun as we thought it's going to be.
Yeah.
So they crawled back in the bushes.
Yeah.
And then we hitched a ride on that Chinook back to Fuloy. But we were at Budap, about that far in Cambodia over there in Vietnam here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the furthest north I had been on a mission.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How'd you get out of that situation?
Huh?
How did you get out of that situation of being shot down right there, so close to the enemy?
We ran like hell, and I ran back to the ship, hit the battery switch, and told my wingman, I said, set that village on fire, and I'll go to the Chinook and see if he'll haul us out, sling us back.
Well, what'd you have to set it on fire with?
Rockets.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll usually, and tracer rounds will set it. You throw some through a thatched roof,
yeah,
set it on fire.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't catch on fire, it'll blow it up into a big old cloud anyway.
Yeah.
And they ran away and decided they weren't going to play.
Yeah.
So then they flew us back to Fuloy, dropped the ship off, dropped us off, and then they flew across the runway, and we thanked them.
Yeah.
Because it was a long walk back.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the Viet Cong and NVA as fighters? You have a hatred for them at the time?
No, they were good at what they did, which was sneak in, hit you hard, and run like hell. But they didn't seem to know the mechanics of the ship, because we were sitting on the runway and they were running out toward us and shooting. We just load the rockets up, raise it up, fire them off, and set it back down. We just did that.
When they could have come from the sides?
Well, hell yeah, they could have come from the side or laid down and shot into the rotor system. I don't know. Maybe they weren't thinking, or maybe they were new guys on the block. I don't know.
So that at the time they weren't very well educated on how to deal with helicopters?
No.
No?
No, they learned though.
Yeah.
They learned.
What were the best tools they had for the helicopters?
The best.
Tools to deal with you guys?
Oh.
Because you said that even small arms can go through it, but like
Yeah.
I guess it's really hard to hit a helicopter in the sky.
No, not really. That mission I came back with 16 holes in it,
Okay.
and they were all in a line right down the tail boom.
Mm.
A lot of it's luck. Or maybe you can pull out and expose yourself, and when they come after you, your wingman can come in and hit them in the ass.
Yeah.
I don't know, you just all kinds of thoughts run through your mind.
Yeah.
Just do what works.
Yeah. So after you came back from Vietnam and you finished up in Germany, did you have trouble readjusting to life here in America, or was it quite easy comparatively?
I don't think I had trouble adjusting in Germany because they were all still military people.
Yeah.
When I got back here to the States, I could have gone into a reserve unit for another 2 or 3 years if I wanted. And I thought, let's just call it even. I'll go that way and you go this way, and that's what we did. So I never did. I stayed in an inactive reserve for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
The main problem being, okay, yeah, your unit is out here off 23rd Street. Now, if you want to fly, you have to get in your Volkswagen and drive to Murfreesboro, pick up a helicopter, fly it around, and then fly it back and drive back home. You spend the whole damn day doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, now what we could do, we could take the car up there the night before, get the helicopter, maybe get 2 helicopters, fly back to Chattanooga, switch seats, fly back up there, park them, and we've only got one drive back home.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But anyway, I was kind of tired of the service, and I knew I wasn't going to make any more than captain.
What made you know that?
Well, you have to go. Department of the Army called me when I was in Germany, and they said, "This is Armor Branch. What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I'm a history teacher. I'd like to go to West Point and teach history." "Well, you have to have a career course to do that." Another 6 months down the toilet. And I says, "Is there a guarantee that I'd?" He said, "No, and there's still no guarantee, because we may not need any history instructors at West Point.
Wow.
So I said, well, okay, I'll just serve the rest of my tour here in Germany, and then I'll go back to Chattanooga and get in a reserve unit, and we'll ride it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of the new wore off of being in the Army.
Yeah. When you were a history teacher, did you talk about Vietnam much with your students?
I taught in the deaf school, and I taught Roman history. So no, at that time I hadn't been to Vietnam yet.
Okay. I thought this was after. I was getting confused by the timeline.
I went down to UTC and I said, hey, I'm looking for a job. What was your major? Deaf education. You sign up? Yes, sir. Well, we can put you to work next week. And I said, what does that pay? And he says, $2,400. And I said, is that a month or a term or what? He said, no, that's for a whole year. And I said, shit, I can sell pencils on the street for that. Never mind.
Yeah.
So I took a job in construction for 15 times that and stuck that out.
Yeah.
And retired.
So did you ever make use of your sign language skills?
Other than teaching my hooch maid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at the airport and two girls were obviously deaf education teachers, and they were sitting over there. And I was watching, they were talking about me. So I signed back and I said, if you two old bags are through talking about me, go somewhere else. They got up and moved. But,
you ever use it to pick up women?
no. No. My wife would frown if I did that and picked up women. No, I never did. Sometimes we would use it in scuba diving.
Okay.
You teach them the ABCs, okay, so they got 23 more to learn and they can spell whatever, and they spell the word, and so you show them what the sign means. They say, oh, okay. And so next time they'll show you the sign. So before long, they're signing.
Underwater.
And if they don't know how to sign, they can always spell it.
Yeah. That's a pretty useful skill, actually.
I guess. But I would teach I was in a pool and had a class in there, and a couple of girls, where they were teachers, deaf education teachers, they were down here in the deep end. And they were talking about me, so I swam down there and I says, if you two are through talking about me, get your asses up to the other end of the pool. There they went. They said, well, I didn't know. Actually, I didn't know. But my hooch maid was delighted that we could really actually communicate. And she would start making up her own signs or combining 2 or 3 signs. And I'd have to think for a minute, now what in the hell is she doing? Oh, you're so-and-so and so. She says, yes. So, but she was smarter than the average bear. She was probably 37.
Yeah, that's cool.
But most of the times, if you ever got back to the base, I'd grab Ralph, my cat, and put him up in the scuba net, or the mosquito net, and try to get some sleep.
Yeah.
Because if the horn went off, you had 2 minutes to get that aircraft off the ground. And it was about as far as from here to the front porch. 2 minutes to get that ship off the ground. I don't care if you had to fly in your underdrawers and flip-flops, by God, that thing better be going and you better be in it.
So that's why you slept in your clothes mostly?
Well, I flew a couple of missions in my underdrawers, but we got it off the ground.
Yeah.
But when I got back that day, and the general was looking for me, and we got to talking, and he said, yeah, he says, why in the hell would you want to do that? I said, yeah, that's what we do. And if we don't do it, Charlie will get them. I said, if you were out and you were shot down, would you want me to come in and pick you up?
Yeah.
Well, of course. I said, well, hell, Bob, and he said, and what's the thing with Bob? I said, I know every one of those Lurps. I know their wives, if they've got them. I know their children. I've seen pictures. And Bob, I realize his sign was Wildcat too, but if I called him Bob, he knows I know who he is, and I know he knows, and I don't. Maybe he gets a warm, fuzzy feeling, maybe he doesn't, but he knows I'll do everything in my power to get their asses out of there.
Yeah.
And that's what we did that night.
Yeah.
Picked them up on a helicopter and run them on out. I read in Gary Linderer's book that was the only Cobra extraction of a Lurp team in Vietnam, and Stanton said the same thing in his book. That was the only time a Cobra was used for this. I'll give you one of Stanton's books. He's kind of off the wall, but he's readable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't think anything about it.
You just doing what felt right?
Sir?
You're just doing what felt right.
Do whatever's necessary.
Yeah, because you know they'd do it for you.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
They would think of an alternative. If I got shot down, they would drag me around through the woods with them.
Yeah.
But hopefully I didn't get shot down.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like a great big ass carnival ride most of the time.
Yeah.
And nobody could say anything to you because they didn't know what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
And you were the senior agent in command on the scene. Do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
The general wasn't happy about that. I said, well, he says, you got some field grade officers that are in the TOC, and they're not happy about the disparaging remarks you've been making about their parentage.
Yeah.
I said, well, if the bastards had stayed off my radio, I maybe could have gotten the Lurps out an hour sooner. He says, it's not your radio, it's my radio. Everything in this division is mine. I signed for it. Every stick, every pencil, everything. And I said, yes, sir, I know I was there. He said, that's right, you were. And I figured surely you'd get killed. But no, you're. And we talked, and I got to looking at him and looked in his eyes, and you could tell that he had the weight of the whole world on his shoulders. And I think, man, nothing I can do. You're a 2-star general and I'm a captain.
Yeah.
You call me and I'll come help you, but, or you got anybody you want knocked off, let me know.
Yeah.
Come out and knock them off. And he said, no. He says, I appreciate the job you're doing.
Sure.
I said, well, if you get bored, come on, I'll take you flying. He wasn't that bored. He wanted to ride, but he didn't want to ride, he just wanted to ride. So I took him out and put him through some negative G's, and when I could see him, you got a little mirror up there where you can look and see his eyes and he can see your eyes. That way if you're going in a dive and you take a hit, you can look and see who's alive, who's been hit, and more importantly, who's flying this damn thing.
Yeah.
So he got sick, and I just rolled the thing over, and of course he puked, and it decorated the ceiling, and I rolled it upright, and it came back down. But he was a bird colonel. He was bothered, man. And I said, sir, I was up flying all night. I've been flying all day. I haven't had anything to eat. Oh, come on, take me for a ride. I said, if you throw up, you're going to clean it up. Oh, I'm not ever going to throw it up, but I'll do it. Yes, sir. And I took him out and leaped that thing over the top and came down and pulled out and looked in that mirror, and you could see the skin on his face going down like that. And
Just turned gray.
Yeah, he kept looking for a button on the floor to say enough. Well, he finally found it. And when I came back, I landed and I opened the canopy. The front seat opens on that side and the back seat opens on this side. And so I called my base station, and I said, bring me a bucket of water and some Lysol and some towels. I said, we got a puker. He says, you made him puke? And I said, yes, sir, I did. I said, well, okay. So they brought him out there, and I opened the canopy and set that bucket in there, gave him the tools, went to eat. And he did clean it up, and he did a pretty good job. But when I opened the canopy, he had a little piece of puke hanging on his nose. And he said, you got to get used to this, don't you? And I said, yes, you do. And he said, well, okay. And I thought he was rude in that he did not return my salute. He didn't thank me for the ride. And so I just walked off and left him there. But he did clean it up, did a pretty good job. He never came back though and asked for another
ride.
Shit, no.
It's a good.
A Cobra on a pull out like that, you experience about 3.5 times the force of gravity.
Yeah.
And shit, man, it'll pull everything you got right out your toe. And it's worse on him because he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah. Shouldn't have ate before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like riding a roller coaster or something.
Yes.
But he never came back anymore. It suited me.
I mean, I don't blame him. All right, I think that's a good stopping point.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for talking to me today.
Well, hell yes. I don't.